Thank you, and good afternoon. I think the introduction is already done. We are blessed to have panelists, with ample loads of experience. And I tried to calculate just before starting the session what kind of experienced people I'm going to be sitting with. So I tried to put the years. So if I only give them few years for their experiences, we are talking about at least 100 years of experience of businesses, international businesses, and entrepreneurs sitting with here in this panel. So thank you so much for all. The idea to discuss all this is to go and talk about world economy a little bit, and then talk about new models of investments, try and bring those models in Pakistan. Then we'll try and narrow down to Pakistan, because we are Pakistan, we're here, we're working in Pakistan. All of my panelists have interest in Pakistan. They're doing some business in Pakistan. And this is what we're going to be focusing on. So with this, let's just move on quickly and start our conversation. I would ask anyone who would like to be part of this, please raise your hand. Mike will come to you. Please ask questions from the panelists, from me, whoever you like, and then we'll just take it this way. So with this, my first question is the views on world economy. So basically, I'm going to be asking my panelists to give a little bit on their views on world economy. So if I can start with Adeel, yourself, please.
Shahid, I think on the world economy, when we talk about, there are regional plays which are coming into picture now. We have of course, Pakistan along with China. There's a CPAC movement going on. If you look at the GCC, there is the oil price pressure, but there is a regional impact coming on as well. I think when we talk about this whole ease of business, we also need to look into that, the regional perspective, how we need to align ourselves. There is a lot of movement going on with the regional players, and when you talk about how we need to globalize Pakistan, along with that, we also need to look at the perspective of the regional innovations which is coming along, where we stand today as Pakistan, where our economy stands, and how we need to take the best of a lot out of the global economy and to bring it in Pakistan, how we can move it forward. I think if we look into that, where we are as of today, with this only Chinese investment is not going to help us. We also need to globalize our investment platform, where we bring some other investment into the country. There is attraction going on, but there is a lot of pressure to the bureaucratic processes in Pakistan, which is not helping. I think this is where I believe this is a real challenge which we have to face.
Thank you very much. Very well said. Bring the best of the global economy to Pakistan. This is very well said. If I may have your side of your views, please, on the same question.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. You talked about the years of experience. All of you have the experience. I look like the years of experience. So my view on the economy is as following. There is no one direction. I think you have to break it down and say what's happening in US and Latin America, and they're very much in a growth phase. There's no question about it. You look at Asia, Asia is coming back into growth phase. Whether it's Indonesia, China, even Japan is doing better. If you look at the GCC region, they have their problems. I don't see them growing robustly. They're just barely having low-digit growth rates in the Middle East. Coming to Pakistan, what does that mean for us? I think we have to look at our trade patterns. For us, it doesn't matter what's happening in the world, it's what's our connectivity with that growth or lack of growth. To me, opportunity for Pakistan is to look towards Asia. I think we need to be much more Asia-centric than we are. Today, if you look at our trading patterns, we still tend to be in our key industries focused on the traditional markets in the Western OECD world. And I think we have to figure out a way to break that linkage, not by not doing business with them, continue to do business with them, but increase your leverage points with Asia. Second thing is that we have to think for ourselves. We have to think for Pakistan, regardless of what's happening in those economies. I was just talking to this young lady sitting next to me who very much made the point that when she thinks about her business, she thinks first about her home market and then the international market. So we can and should keep an eye on the international trends, but we should not forget the realities of our environment and the opportunities that those realities bring. I think the previous panel rightly talked a lot about CPAC. I think it's a huge opportunity. My only input would be, we talk a lot about what the Chinese will do. I think we should start talking about what Pakistanis will do. I think we start talking about what opportunities we want to grab. I think we want to start talking about how we want to engage with the companies coming here and the companies not coming here. And then that can create a model for growth for international trade for Pakistan.
Thank you very much, and I'm sure we will come where you wanted to come now. So I think with this global discussion, we will automatically come to Pakistan. Salman, if I can please have your views on this one as well.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm not more of an economical person, but yes, being in the business industry, the world economy has a sideways pattern right now, I think. If you guys are following the currency of not only Pakistan but also worldwide, dollars is becoming stronger and all the world currencies are becoming weaker. Let's say pound, euro, all the currencies in the world. Even if you see the gold pattern is going up. We always believed in the long term that gold had a store of value, which Greenspan completely came and shifted and said, you know what, gold doesn't have a store of value, sell your gold and bring it all in dollar, which sadly the world did, and America became the largest gold reserve in the world, and we all lost our gold. So gold is going up. I think when the economies in the world go sideways, they try to go and tend to go into something really strong, which is gold and metals and precious metals. I think Pakistan, looking at the world economy, has got a great geographical location. We have the best port in the world. What we have done right now is like Saghir said, that we look towards the area which are not very susceptible to Pakistan. Middle East has its own issues right now with Pakistan, with internally themselves. So we should look at markets which are big. Pakistan, every market in the world which are doing very well are real economies who have a growth potential in size of population. We have a huge population in the geographical location. Let's say when we talk about cinemas in Pakistan, we talk about industry of entertainment in Pakistan. After India, the second largest market in Southeast Asia, including the Middle East, is Pakistan, as per the kind of population we have. So the growth opportunity in Pakistan is doing wonders right now, but it's just the right potential that we need to achieve right now.
Well, thank you so much, Salman. Very well said. There are a lot of opportunities, definitely our population, geographical location, and a lot of business opportunities definitely are here in Pakistan. Of course, Kashif, your views, please, on the same question.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Well, when you say global economy, of course, you look at the two big economies to begin with, which is the US and Chinese economy. You look at the US economy, it's actually growing faster than anticipated, if you look at the 2018 numbers, due to lower taxes and some of the policies that Trump administration has. But then on the other hand, the biggest challenge is basically, the differences between the Chinese and the US government, where basically US is imposing tariffs on Chinese. There's a $50 billion tariff they just placed, and they're talking about, the Trump administration is talking about a $100 billion tariff. And in response to that, China is basically imposing tariffs on steel and aluminum on US imports. So that challenge is there, but when you come down to other parts of the world, Middle East, as my colleagues just mentioned, that Middle East has its own challenges and problems at the moment. oil price, for argument's sake, is stable between $65–70, which is kind of good news and it's more realistic. But then on the other hand, the geopolitical tension that we have in the Middle East right now, that's taking a toll on them. Coming to Pakistan, as Salman rightly mentioned, is a huge opportunity from an economic growth perspective. But then again, as we move forward in this panel into the discussion, we talk about what are the challenges.
Thank you so much, Kashif, absolutely right. Anybody would like to ask any question from the panelists at this stage? Because then we move on to the next topic. If anybody has any question. Okay, fine. So let's move on to the next one. We touched and we talked about global economy. We did talk about a little bit of challenges as well as opportunities. And then we already touched Pakistan. Great. We've done, I think, a bit of a part. Now, I think let's move on to the next question, which is, so we know now that we have global challenges and opportunities available out there. How can we avail those opportunities specific to Pakistan? And what are your views that what do we have to do quickly to take advantage of those opportunities? So if I can have the answer from Salman, if I can ask your views on this one, please.
Like I was just saying earlier, the kind of opportunities we have in Pakistan, it's humongous. The biggest opportunity we have right now is our workforce. We are actually exporting our workforce because of the political issues, because of the living standards of Pakistan. India, like for example, most of the let's give an example of the aviation industry in India. Emirates Airlines and Etihad were doing so well in Pakistan, in the Middle East, that most of the Indians workforce were moving to the Middle East to avail the opportunities. What happened once the Indian industry aviation grew so big? All the population just moved from Middle East back to India, because you have your own house, you don't have to pay rent, you have your own people, and you have your own opportunities. It's your own house. I remember 15 years ago when we started television from London. So we had to export our opportunities to the UK. Then we moved to Dubai. Once we moved back to Pakistan, we saw the kind of opportunities in Pakistan. We saw kind of workforce in Pakistan. It's unbelievable. Look at our movie industry now. We always say there are so much opportunities into the new industries that people have to avail. We always keep on talking about the dollar-rupee parity. We keep on talking about कि अच्छा वो डॉलर जो है ना, वो जब तक नीचे नहीं रहेगा तो हमारे डॉलर अंदर नहीं आएंगे. डॉलर बढ़ जाएगा तो हमारी एक्सपोर्ट्स जो है ना गिर जाएंगी. Look at the kind of exports we have. We have $20 billion worth of exports versus $56 billion worth of imports. And the kind of workforce which works outside of Pakistan sends approximately 48–50 billion US dollars a year. Philippines came to that decision once, saying, we want to export, we want to work on our imports, decrease our imports, but let's work on our workforce. Let's split our workforce between Philippines and overseas. So our greatest asset right now is the workforce. It's the young people. We are the only economy, with the only population with under the age of 30, 50% of our population is under the age of 30, which we need to nurture and groom. Look at the movie industries. Now we actually have directors and producers, young directors and producers coming from overseas, from universities like Wharton and Cornell and New York Film Institute. They all want to come down to Pakistan and avail the opportunities which they can't get from the world. So there is so much opportunity in Pakistan. I think जिस मुल्क के अंदर एक प्रोजेक्ट 50 बिलियन रुपए का रियल एस्टेट का शुरू होता है बिकने के लिए, और वो एक दिन के अंदर उसकी बुकिंग खत्म हो जाती है, और हम कहते हैं कि our poverty level is below and we don't have enough money. Imagine if we can internally buy 50 billion rupees, which is $5 billion US dollars, so $500 million worth of products in our country. Last year, I remember Ramzan ke andar keh rahe the कि there was over 3 billion shopped in just one day from Karachi. So we have the know-how, we have the workforce, we have the knowledge, and we have the money. अब let's hope कि जो amnesty scheme आती है उसमें कुछ पैसा अंदर आ जाए हमारे मुल्क के अंदर. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Salman. Very important point you touched, and absolutely right. Naya restaurant khulta hai, then same day you go there and you don't even find a seat. I mean, no matter how much are they charging you. And very well said, a big project, and then in one day you go there and find apartment, and there are no apartments available, all sold. I mean, unbelievable. And the reason behind all this, very well said, is population, is the urge, is the people, is the talent, and I think we just have to take the advantage of it. With this in mind, my next question goes to Adeel. What are the hindrances, in your opinion? I mean, why we can't really avail this? I mean, while we have everything here, do you think we are going to the right direction?
Shayad, definitely we are going to the right direction, but as Saghir said, that we need to understand what we as Pakistani want. We brought in the technology here, like earlier the panels was saying that we got 3G, 4G here. We brought in the technology, but we could not develop our skilled workers here. When we talk about, we have a very developed financial sector, but we have a number of industries which are very developed. But when we talk about, as Salman was saying, that we have the young population, but what we do not have the skilled institution, skilled worker institution, and this is not, as a private investors, we need to work out is the GOP needs to come along with us as well. And when I think Salman was referring that, you look at the India or the regional players as well, they have actually started emphasizing on to develop their skilled workers. They do not mind, if they want to set up institutions for plumbers, for anything as well, these technical colleges, they like to do that. And this is where they are exporting their skilled workers outside, and that is bringing back the remittance into those countries as well. Okay, I think the problem, the challenges we generally facing in that, and as I said earlier, that we attracted the major foreign investment here as well. Okay, we are going to do a couple of more attraction as well, but when we talk about at the policy framework level as well, our national institutions, may it regard to the private industry level or the institution level, they are not coherent. They are not actually coming along as in one institution. Okay, I think this is where we face the challenge, and that needs to overcome.
Very well said. I think we have to come as one. And you're absolutely right. There are immense opportunities. There are a lot of definitely challenges, but then we have to come as one. Right. Great. It's very difficult for me to move my head like. Is it working?
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. So Mufti Sahab, we hear a lot of things about talent, skill, labor. You're working for one of the biggest bank in Pakistan right now with a lot of people working there. You think you have the right kind of mind skill, the people skill available, and then do we have the right kind of opportunities moving forward with our talent, and are we really nurturing our youth or the next generation to go to the next level in all industries, including banking, which is the most important industry?
So, are we allowed to create controversy here?
No.
No controversy, then I can't say anything. Then everything is fine. Yeah? So, I think it's no fun coming here and just saying things everybody wants to hear. So, I'm going to say some things which may get me beaten up, but I think it's important to talk about these issues. The answer to your question for financial services, which many of my colleagues in financial services would not like, is that we have a workforce and an industry which is 20 years behind. If you look at what's happening in financial services in the rest of the world, it's a very good industry for Pakistan and serving its needs for what it is today. But it is not an industry focused on supporting the growth of the economy that can be the potential of this economy. Specifically in that, people, my institution included, I think does make an effort to acquire talent, but I don't think we nurture it well. I don't think we have done what we should have done to create the right type of programs to train those people, to mentor them, to create career roadmaps for them, to retain them. In our organization, we hire good people every year in large numbers, but the fact is we lose them also. That means we've done something wrong as far as I'm concerned. If a company hires a good person and cannot retain them, I'm sorry, the company is also doing something wrong. Yes, maybe that person is leaving for money. That money is one part of it. There's so many studies which show people leave bad managers. Yes, compensation is important and is one of the elements. So I'm very, very strong believer that we need to improve the way we hire people, attract talent and retain them and nurture them. And it requires investment. It requires money. And I think we should make that investment. If you look at the training budgets of most organizations here, I think we would all come to an agreement that they could improve them. I don't think there's any institution here, except with the exception of places like LUMS, which are supported by institutions like Packages and the Dowds and all. I think they created something. LUMS stands out today. IBA, look at what has happened with IBA in the last few years. Some institutions have supported them. The investments were made, and they're blossoming. They're doing well. And I think in the private sector, we need to do that. Equally, I think in the public sector, we need to do that, because if we have good talent only in the private sector, the country will not do well. This is not a private sector issue only. You need to do capacity building in the public sector also. And I believe we need to invest in people. Salman just raised a very important point. Young population, they're an opportunity because they're consumers. But at the same time, they're a responsibility. We owe them jobs. We owe them a future. And to do that, we all collectively in the public sector and the private sector need to think about how to create policies for developing talent, retaining talent. I think we have a lot of work to do in this space.
Thank you so much, and very well said. Absolutely right. We owe them jobs. I think this is the key word in my opinion. It's the responsibility of all the organizations and of course us sitting in this room as well to find opportunities for the youth, to give them opportunities and also the way where they can nurture and grow and love Pakistan. So good. With this, Kashif, you my international entrepreneur, of course. You're based in Dubai, working in different countries, looking after GCC and many other countries, including Pakistan. How do you see Pakistan is coming up with the CPAC in hand? I mean, before us, we had this ease of doing business panel, wonderful discussions, a lot of discussions where China is just coming up very, very well. What's your view on this point?
I think Pakistan is at a very interesting crossroad at the moment. CPAC has created a catalyst in the growth of Pakistan. $50 billion coming into Pakistan is a huge number, the size of the economy, and that creates a lot of jobs, a lot of opportunities. But the issue with that is that, the reliance on CPAC itself. I think there are other countries where, in the past, if you look at the history, a lot of other countries internationally came into Pakistan, invested into Pakistan. There was a lot of foreign direct investment coming into Pakistan. So I think what we should do is, we've been celebrating CPAC for the longest time, and that's, inshallah, not going anywhere. That's going to move forward, and, we'll see a lot of implementation in the country, a lot of changes. But I think we should focus more on focusing on the countries which had invested in the past. And, we need to bring back those investors. Middle East was, Middle East where I am, I deal with a lot of investors who are currently investors in Pakistan and, have billion-dollar plus investments. They have biggest challenges right now, is basically how do they exit out of existing investments they have. Any investment has maturity, and the maturity is anywhere between 5 to 7 years. And a typical private equity model is you exit out of any investment between 5 to 7 years. But the current investors from the Middle East into Pakistan, they are in Pakistan holding these investments for the last almost 10, 11 years, and the biggest challenge is how do they exit. So I think the government needs to address on that, because any investor, any new investor who would come in would go back and, you know, circle the reference with the existing investors, how their experience has been. So we have to give the positive feedback, and obviously, you know, Pakistan for the next 10 years, I see it's a golden era for Pakistan. A lot of challenges are there. The biggest challenge that we should look at is change itself. Change itself is an opportunity, but change is a challenge where how do you adopt that change? You know, how do you adopt the new technology around the world? Everyone is talking about blockchain at the moment. I think, you know, blockchain is something that we should focus on. Dubai announced that by 2020, they want the entire system to be blockchain, whether it's banking sector, whether it's government, everything will be deregularized. And what Saghir just mentioned, that, you know, our banking system is at least, we're 20 years behind. I think how we can move forward without wasting any time if we implement the blockchain system itself, that will expedite the change, that will expedite the new innovation, new technologies, and that will change a lot of things.
Thank you. Such a good answer. Excellent. And I think I just don't want to go into the next one because I've got other panelists, and I think they have the right kind of, you touch few points I think they would like to also probably, and Adeel, I'm sure you would like to say something about the same, what Kashif has soon.
I definitely echo what Kashif said. You know, there has been investment done, there's a maturity of number of investments. But I think the part we miss here as well, the investors comes and do the investment. When maturity comes in, then we have our internal challenges comes in. But the most important factor is this, the international investors, once they invest, they need to be motivated to invest again. I think this is where once the investment maturity comes in, they walk out, they don't come back. This is where I think we need to look at have a more focal approach, that we bring them back. We need to motivate them to do investment with other areas as well. So I think this is the area I believe it's lacking here.
I think that's a very important point. Not just that they come back. I think look at how the current foreign investors are being treated. If the current foreign investors find it a hospitable environment to operate, and that doesn't mean not to have any rules. That doesn't mean you give them a carte blanche. But if the practical operating issues are being addressed or not by the system. If they are, they become your best ambassadors. But if they're not, they also become your worst advocates. Because any new foreign investor who would want to come, his first port of call is not going to be talking to a local party. They would first talk to the other foreign investors. So it's very important that on a systemic basis, private sector and public sector institutions think about how the current foreign investors are being treated. And I, in that space, include the private sector because I think the partnerships get formed in the private sector. The blessing, the approvals come from the public sector. So I think our mode of operating as a partner is very important. Are we having firms who know how to be good partners? That's a very important issue in JVs. And I urge our colleagues in the private sector to think about. Our colleagues in the public sector have to look at how easy it is. A lot of people talk about one window operation. I'm not a big believer in one window operation. The real question is how simple is the process? Some of you may have heard the term frictionless. It's the new term coming in the digital world. How do you reduce friction in your interaction on the customer journey? And if you look at our customer journey for a foreign investor, I would say it's friction-full rather than frictionless.
You know, I'm so sorry. I sometimes don't agree with this policy of foreign investors. We have almost $250 billion worth of assets of Pakistanis outside. We have some of the richest Pakistanis in Pakistan and outside Pakistan. We always, for the last, since I'm 43 years old and since I've come into business, the only thing I hear is about foreign investment, foreign investment, foreign investment. Have you seen, I'm sure bankers and stock market people and real estate people would know it better than me. The moment this foreign investor comes in, he avails his opportunity. The moment he sees there's a distress, the first one to run away is your foreign investor. And what does he do? He leaves your sector high and dry. We had the same issue exactly 15 years ago during Musharraf's regime, when big groups like Star, big groups like Fox, big groups like ZTV and Sony wanted to come and invest in Pakistan. We were just growing at that time. We were like, I was 7 years old, some guys were like 2 years old, we were growing our industry. So Musharraf came to us and said, combined with these three parties, they want to invest $100 million in your economy and create more jobs. So we all sat together and we know these guys, they would come in, they would distress the market and they would leave. So we, the media industry at that time, it was just growing industry. We all sat down together, we all committed to that government that we will invest over $100 million in the economy, create X amount of jobs, but don't let international parties to come and disrupt your country. And he agreed to us. And look at our media industry right now. Ek zamane mein everybody wanted to become a doctor. Ek zamana tha everybody wanted to become a banker. Now believe me, everybody wants to become a talk show host. Everybody wants to be a talk show host. I think the visiting card of a reporter is much more stronger than the visiting card of a CM. So if CM has to go out, he has to ask permission. अगर कोई reporter हो, उसके हाथ में एक card हो, ARY का, आज TV का, किसी का भी, he has more power, he has more say in the economy than anybody else. So we have nurtured this industry. This industry is just how many years old? 17 years old? I was the first one to start my TV station after PTV. We employ 3,500 people in Karachi only. And now look at the media industry. We have the radios, we have TV stations, we have movie industry. We just got a tax break for movie industry. Do you know how much movies are being made in Pakistan right now? We got movies, the talent of the movies that people are making. That's why I've always said there is so much local investment in Pakistan. I'm sure Pakistanis individually and together can buy the banks. You know, there was you know, we sold our assets to overseas companies. They had no idea about how to work in the country. Now they're all in distress. We have big corporations like Karachi Electric, they're all in distress. They don't know what to do. They are making profit, but they're all in distress. So I strongly believe that as an economy, as an individual Pakistanis, we should come together. If we can buy 40 crore rupees ke 2,000 gas ka plot in defense, you know, for God's sake, 40 crore पर $4 million कहते हैं उसको. $4 million का आपको कैलिफोर्निया में मिलता है आपको एक huge, you know, आज 50,000 रुपए per square foot की जगह बिकती है एक बिल्डिंग के अंदर. We can afford that. Can't we afford that 40 crore rupees to be put back in the economy in some sort of business? I think we can. I honestly think we can. I think once we get together, I remember India in 90s, I'm sorry for taking so much time. I remember India in 90s, they said we'll go into isolation. We don't want anything. We'll go into isolation, we'll get all the foreign investment from Indians into India. They did that. And what happened? After 15 years of isolation, they came out and they became a huge giant of the world. I think we should do that. We should individually call up our friends. We are the second largest bloody investors of real estate in the Middle East. Second largest after India. Not Russians, not Americans. We are the second largest. Imagine how much money we have. Why don't we bring that money back into Pakistan and say, yeah, chalo, yahan banao. And then we do what Saghir Sahab said, give them that economical growth opportunity. Ki jao, you know, run yourself and be groomed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Salman. I'm afraid we don't have more time. Itni achhi discussion, dil nahi cha raha chhodne ka. And then we have a lunch as well. So I'm sure nobody likes it. So we have to wrap it up.
I think, Nadeem, one thing I would like to say, because Salman brought up a very important point. Salman Sahab, I agree with you that we should try to attract that attention and that investment. But it can't be just on emotional investment appeal. Invest in Pakistan, be Pakistani. That's 30% of it. We have to create the ecosystem. And I think there are role models of other countries. I think there should be a program for what they call non-resident Pakistanis, or whatever you want to call it, Pakistani investment abroad. And there should be a whole effort made on how to attract and retain that investment in the country by improving the capabilities to bring money, invest money, have it protected under the right laws, have a tax system which supports it. Then you will create a sustainable ecosystem for housing that investment.
I agree. I honestly agree on that. I'm not talking about overseas Pakistanis. I'm talking about the local Pakistanis also. The Pakistanis who are here. See, why we run away from investment? Because, you know, we want to invest in Dubai because we don't have security. Pani nahi aata, hum tankers mangate hain. Bijli nahi aati, hum generators lagate hain. You know, so if that has to be there. But once we figure out, and believe me, 30% emotional. I know Pakistanis who invested in the bonds after 9/11 just to secure the dollar. That was not emotional. That was pure emotion. They were getting 6%, 8%. They were just emotionally investing into dollars and pound bonds just because they wanted to keep Pakistan afloat. So that is a 50% ratio that Pakistanis are. You know, hum as a nation are very emotional. We are the most emotional. Iraq mein Muslimanon ko marenge to hum yahan aag laga denge. Hum itne emotional kaum hai. You know, so I think we should play on the emotions and get the money in firstly, and then try to give them simultaneously give them the flow to work on.
Shiraz bhai, next time you have to give me 1 hour or more than that. I'm telling you, I don't like to quit this, but we have to. Thank you so much, all my panelists. Thank you so much, the audience, so much, and we'll hope that we'll have this kind of discussion in future as well.
Thank you very much.